Good morning. Welcome back, guys. Hope everyone's having a great Thursday. It is Thursday, huh? Anyways, well, it's not going to be Thursday 3 days from now when you're watching this, but at any given time, you guys probably have a bunch of 1960 Lincoln pennies in your change jar or that piggy bank or just wherever you keep your coins. This particular date, since we are on the subject of just kind of educating ourselves before the busy coin roll hunting season, is one of the dates in which there are a multitude of varieties. All right, which makes it a popular pick among variety collectors and among Lincoln cent collectors. You better believe that if you have some of these coins in your jar, more than likely you're going to have a number of these varieties that we're going to talk about today. Now, we're not going to talk about every single one of them. According to coppercoins.com, that's Chuck Daughtry's website, there are over 170, count them, 170 repunched mint mark variants in both the small date and large date coin. With the Denver minted coins, the small date and the large date are about equal, which means it's about 50-50. You find one, it's either going to be one or the other, as opposed to the Philadelphia minted coins, in which the small date is an exceedingly tougher coin to find. It is not rare, however. Probably one out of every 100 Philadelphia 1960s is the small date. Okay, and they're worth a few bucks. It's not a bad cherry pick. But before we go ahead and deep dive into a couple of my favorite picks of some of the most sought after coins, and by the way, since we're on the subject of repunched mint marks and doubled dies, you're going to get a nice little tutorial, especially on the repunched mint marks, on what the few variants look like on these coins, which will help give you a general idea of what to look for to help diagnose a specific type of repunchment mark you'll have. But as always, I gotta do the same old thing every day because we're coming up to the beginning of summer. It's probably already steaming hot where you're at. All right, it's well, today it's supposed to hit 98.6 degrees, which effectively makes it the temperature of the inside of your mouth. It's body temperature, people. But don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for instant notifications. I'm going to be doing giveaways all summer long as a way of giving back to the community after 8 strong years of being on YouTube and having such a supportive and wonderful subscriber base and just overall patron activity. So I want to thank everyone for being a huge part in my development over the years. So the 1960D Lincoln cent, as you can see right here, is an absolute common dated coin, okay, in both the Philadelphia and Denver minted coins. In the case of this video, we're going to take a look at the Denver minted coins because they have so much more to offer in the variety department, and you will be pleasantly surprised at how much these coins sell for on the secondary market. All right, so you can either be a collector or you could find these as a way of kind of making money for other interests. Okay. So the coin that you see here is the large date. All right, the large date is the more common, I would say. Like I said, it's 50-50, but I feel like I come across more large date 1960D Lincoln cents over the small date variant in this one. Now, in terms of desirability and value, the desirability is about 50-50. People are gravitating more towards the large date, even though it feels like there's a little bit more of those coins to go around. But value-wise, it doesn't make the 1960D small date any more valuable. As a matter of fact, one that comes directly out of change with nothing going for it is still worth about 5 cents. All right, maybe a little bit less than that if you factor in the price of the copper into things. But let's go ahead and take a look at a few of my favorite repunched mint marks first, and then we're going to take a look at the big dog, the one double die obverse you're going to want to keep an eye out on in change. I've done a video on that one specifically, but in the grand scheme of just trying to identify the hotbed of various dates that exist in pocket change today, the 1960D is tops in my book. Okay, there's very few coins in which you'll find over 170 known varieties for that particular coin. All right, so the first one I wanted to show you guys is the Cherry Picker's Guide variety. This is the 1960 D over D RPM. As you can see on this image, the coin came out of circulation. It's got some wear on there. You can see the hits on the date and the goop and the 9. But anyways, this one is a no-doubter. Take a look at the mint mark on here and you'll see that you have a D over D. You have a relatively nasty spread of the D west of the primary mint mark on this one. And this one's been around for years, and the coin sells pretty consistently between $7 and $10, okay, as you find them, because they are still sought after. Now, that would be in this condition. If you found another example, say that is mint state, like a 64 or 65, then you're going to have a coin that raw you could probably get between 25 and 50 bucks for. All right, it's a very liquid type coin. Okay, it's easy to sell because it's a Cherry Picker's Guide variety. You know, the coin exhibits what I feel like a really strong repunched mint mark that you only see on a few dates. You know, like the 56 D over D is another example of a very strong repunch mint mark that is highly sought after in all grades. As long as the prices are reasonable on them, people will pick them up, and they're easy to sell, like on eBay and on Facebook and various social media sites that cater to buy, sell, trade action. All right, so I also in every single one of the repunch mint marks, by the way, I did an overlay of the D of what it looks like, the second punch D on there, so that way you could see, just kind of like how everything works diagnostically. And it'll make it easier for you to know what you're looking at as you're combing through all your change and your pennies. All right, so that's the first one right there. The second one that we have here is one that's a little bit more subtle. That you can't really, unless you get underneath a good magnifier. Again, I recommend 8 to 10 times power. A good triplet magnifier is certainly one of the top choices to be able to look at varieties that look like this. So this one here has a nice spread of another D that is east of the primary mint mark. However, it's not as robust. Okay, it's a little bit shallower of a secondary punch. But if you look at this secondary image that I added in with that overlay, you'll see exactly where the other D is. Now you can see the vertical bar in there, and you can see a little bit of what looks like 2 claws coming out of the east side of the primary Denver mint mark. And it's more of a halo kind of effect of a repunch mint mark, but this again is a very sought after variety that sells between $5 and $10 on the secondary market. All right, so and that's for one that's probably a little bit more circulated than the others. So, but if you did find a mint state type, you could expect to get more money from them because people are looking for the highest possible grades raw in these coins. Again, you don't have to necessarily grade these if you don't want to. Okay, if your motivation is to resell them, you're not going to make any money because it's just the grading fees offset the actual additional premium that you would normally get on such a coin. So here's the third repunch mint mark. Now this one right here is probably one type that a lot of people come across, and that's what I would consider to be the rotated or tilted repunch mint mark. Now as you can see right here, you have the noticeable notching on the mint mark, which is only produced when another secondary Denver mint mark is repunched on there, but it's overlapping right where the primary mint mark is, only it's tilted a little bit. Now as you can see on the overlay here, you can see that there is a little bit of a tilt on the secondary mint mark to where the primary one is, and this one trips up some people, but the more of these that you look at, you are going to be familiar with the rotated and tilted mint mark types. Okay, these are probably the least desirable repunch mint marks to sell. Okay, they're kind of hard to sell, even for like $1 or $2. But where I've had success in marketing this type of coin is if you're able to find a whole bunch of them, like say a full roll of 50, and then selling it that way, and then selling it for like $10, then you could make out that way. So as you're going through your pennies, and some of you like to do like bulk lots of these boxes and bags of pennies, what I would do is simply throw aside all of the rotated mint mark Lincoln cents, all right, regardless of what date they are, and you assemble full rolls and then sell them that way. Okay, they're easier to market. Plus, for the buyer, there's more bang for the buck. Okay, but for a 50-cent roll that you could sell for $10 and $4 of shipping on top of that, you feel like you've won doing it that way, as opposed to trying to sell each and every single individual coin as is, and then trying to squeeze 50 cents to $1, and then you have to factor in eBay fees and whatever fees and all the other fees. It could be kind of crazy and not worth it in the long run. So we have one more repunchment mark I wanted to talk about. This is probably one of my favorites because you have a nearly completely separated D that is north of the primary mint mark. Again, this is more of a halo effect Denver mint mark repunch on this coin that's in between the 9 and 6 of the date. All right, now as I throw in the overlay right here, you can see exactly where it's at. So you can kind of toggle back and forth in the video to see where that placement is, and then kind of do the association of one to the other by taking a look at various diagnostics. Now, another diagnostic that a lot of people look for are particular like die gouges and scratches that exist on the same variety all the way across. If you went on a site like coppercoins.com, they actually talk about some of those die markers you're going to want to keep an eye out on for. All right, so we're going to go ahead and finish it off with the big dog coin that a lot of people are looking for, and that's going to be the, this is it right here, the 1960 large date over small date D over D RPM. So it's both a double die obverse, and it's also a repunched mint mark. Now, it's pretty easy to understand why this is one of the most sought after varieties in the entire Lincoln Cent series. All right, as you can see right here, the coin looks like it has a lot of problems. All right, you can see the underlying small date of the 1960 in there, especially in the 6 and the 0. You have a little tiny 0 inside of the big 0, and then you have a tiny little 6. You could actually see the top tail of the 6 in the date of that large date. And then on this one right here, you can actually see the halo of the secondary D north of the primary. It's much like the previous listing I showed you, only on this one you have the double die, or the over the large mint over, or the large date over the small date variety added in there. So when you have like the best of both worlds put together, a nearly separated Denver mint mark, and then you have this incredible double die action going on right here, you have a coin that easily sells for over $100 in circulated condition. Okay, that's how easy it is to sell as long as you have one. Mint state examples, especially the ones that have been graded through like a PCGS or NGC, have sold upwards of $1,000, sometimes a little bit higher than that. So it's definitely worth pulling aside all these coins to look for these particular varieties. Again, there are over 170 repunch mint mark variants for both the small date and large date 1960 Denvers. Okay, and as far as the double die goes, there's only 4, and they all exist on the large date 1960D. Okay, and we didn't even talk about the Philadelphia minted coins. There are a number of double dies that exist for the large date that you're going to want to look out for, that I'm not going to necessarily get into it, but if you wanted more information on the Denver minted coins and all of the Philadelphia coins, check out Chuck Daughtry's website, coppercoins.com. If you haven't bookmarked it, shame on you, especially if you're a avid coin roll hunter and treasure hunter of sorts. These are, this is a date that I look hard for when I go through many rolls of Lincoln cents. Okay, and I go through quite a few of them. So when you come across something that's really drastic and really major, okay, that people will pay up for those. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining in on this really cool episode. We're getting a little bit of a taste of repunchment marks now. We've looked at some errors, and then we've looked at some double dies. Okay, there's one really prominent one in here. I want to thank everyone for joining in. Thank you for all the support and the views. Feel free to share and subscribe my content. Get the word out. I want to know exactly what you guys are thinking about for this particular date. Again, there's a lot of variants to find out there in the 1960s coins, or the pennies rather. It's just you gotta kind of keep your eyes out open. Make sure you have a good magnifier and a computer that you could go back to do some research. So thank you guys again. Hope you guys had a wonderful time on this video, and as always, we're discovering together. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next one.